Golf Podcast, presented by Golficity, where we bring you the tips, instruction, and support you need to get the most out of your golf game. And now your hosts, Frank and Mike.
Hey guys, in today's episode, we're going to talk about 3 quick, easy tips, drills, whatever you want to call them, different ways to practice some parts of your short game that are vitally important if you want to really start scoring well. So we've got a couple things we want to highlight that's going to really help you out there. As well as, Mike, I want to get your take on the changes to the Pga Tour schedule. We're going to dig into that a little bit. We're going to talk about our round that we're going to be playing tomorrow. And I also want to highlight some of the cool things going on in the Facebook group and with some of our listeners. So a lot to talk about, but as always, we can't start talking golf until we tip our hat to tonight's show sponsor, Atlas Premier. If you're in our listener Facebook group, you've already seen, I'm sure, a few of our podcast fans flashing that new Atlas gear from all the great giveaways we've been doing. Hands down, everybody's loving the fresh new take on golf apparel that Atlas Premier is bringing to the game.
Yeah, Frank, and I'm excited for our round tomorrow at Tamarack Country Club up there in Greenwich, Connecticut, because I'm going to be rocking my gray Atlas polo with the blue stripes and the blue collar. I mean, I love the look. It looks so fresh and clean. There's a special feeling knowing you look good out there on the course. And with Atlas, your style will be unique. I could bet you that it'll definitely be unique. A lot of people ask me about the brand, and you'll breathe better thanks to their amazing technology.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I said, if you're in the Facebook group, these guys are so cool. Not only are they sponsoring the show, but they're constantly giving back. They're giving away more and more gear every week. So jump in the group. It's free and you're automatically entered to win. But additionally, even if you don't win, you have to check these guys out. Go to atlaspremier.com. And here's the great thing. Right now, they're giving all of our podcast listeners an exclusive discount, 25% off your order with the coupon code GOLFPODCAST. So that's Atlas Premier. Make sure you check these guys out because, like I said, great stuff, game changer. Mike, also, before we talk about golf, I want to give a quick shout out to our other sponsor tonight, Revant Optics. Listen up. Are scratch sunglass lenses getting in the way of your golf game? Well, you don't have to plop down $100 to replace your Ray-Ban so fast. Simply replace the lenses.
Yeah, Frank, Revant Optics offers high-quality replacement lenses for any brand starting at just $24. I mean, you choose from a wide variety of tints and colors, including golf performance lenses engineered to enhance your vision on the course. So join over 500,000 customers and get 20% off your first order with the coupon code Golficity at revantoptics.com/Golficity. That's REVANTOPTICS.com/Golficity.
Yeah. So Mike, real quick, before we dive into tomorrow's plan, it just today, as we're recording the show, the news hit about them switching up the PGA Tour schedule effective 2019. I don't know how much you saw because we haven't gotten to talk before jumping on here, but they're going to be moving the PGA Championship up to May. What's your thinking?
I caught a little bit of I think it was Greg Shackelford talking to one of the guys on Golf Channel today, saying how up in this region or in certain regions where they've held that tournament in May, it's still pretty cold. Yeah. So it's going to make it kind of like weather could be quite questionable, but I don't see the point. I mean, did they give a reason why they're just going to cram them all in early?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that they had highlighted. They said that, first of all, they want to move it up further where they consider it like major season. So you're going to have a major April, May, June, July, right? Additionally, I think one thing that they were worrying about was starting to, when you creep into August now, you're starting to split a little bit of the timeshare with football, which here in America, that's the biggest thing. So it gets a little bit crazy. Now, they had said, and this is coming from the PGA and from the PGA Tour, from what I was watching as much of the news conference as I could. And they were saying how with the weather, they had done numerous studies and the weather actually turned out to be better for the courses in May than it was in August. But, as I think that's looking really on the bright side. I think the hard part what we're going to see is, and I know from living here, we're talking about courses like around the metro New York area, Boston. In 2019, it's going to be at Bethpage Black. Right. Sure. Those last week or two in May are nice. But as you know, and we've played plenty of courses a couple weeks before the PGA Tour rolls through, and you see they set up those grandstands and stuff months, many, many weeks in advance. So I don't know. I think that some of the greenskeepers are going to have their work cut out for them, getting these courses into season shape and getting all those grandstands and stuff up. But, there's going to be two sides to everything. The other side of it, that being that early, it opens it up to more southern courses. Who knows? Maybe we could see like a TPC Scottsdale.
True enough.
A lot of cool stuff in that regard. Now the Players is going to be bumped up even further. That's going to be.
I was going to ask about the Players.
In March, I believe they said.
That's actually not that bad. I don't mind that. I mean, I love the Players. I mean, the biggest prize in all of golf.
Yeah.
Awesome tournament, awesome finish usually. I don't mind that move at all. But I honestly, Frank, I kind of like the schedule the way it is. I like this tournament at this time of the year. It kind of rounds up the season because next week you got a BS event right before the playoffs kick in.
Right.
So it's like we're at the end, and it was a good exclamation point on the season, but.
I try to step outside of it because for me and you, it's like we live it. We're covering it for Golficity. We're doing all those things. I guess I'm trying to look at it from other points of view. I think what I heard, I forget it was Phil Mickelson or somebody was saying that they also want to move it up because by this time of the year, the season's kind of getting long in the tooth and people are losing interest is what he seemed to be indicating. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. For us, we're interested all year round. One thing that I was happy to hear, regardless of where it is in the season, they confirmed that this does not mean they're going to be abbreviating the season. They said about the success of the season being so long, because some people had said, well, does this mean they're going to be a longer off season and not the wraparound schedule? The good news is they're going to keep going because they're saying golf is a sport that moves around the globe, and they're more and more trying to make it that way. So by having that long season, you can feature more players, you can feature more locations. So that I'm happy with. I don't particularly need an off season. I love watching in January. They're playing in Hawaii, and in the fall we see some of this stuff overseas in the East and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see that change. I feel like it's an ever evolving season. It never feels stagnant to me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So anyway, enough of that. I mean, I'm interested to see how it goes, and you guys can always give us your feedback in the Facebook group and post that there. But Mike, let's talk real quick about tomorrow. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait to get out there and play. Yeah,
I mean, the course looks great. I'm looking at the scorecard now. This is something I like to do when I play a course for the first time. I played a course for the first time today, in fact. I did a little research beforehand, and it kind of helped out a little bit. Kind of had a game plan going into it. So I want to have that same strategy tomorrow. Frank, ever since I watched that Peter Kostis breakdown of Dustin Johnson's swing, I have tried to replicate that, the chest pointed all the way facing behind the ball, like we talked about.
Yep.
And I did it today, and I got to tell you something. It really cut down the slice dramatically. You'll see tomorrow. I'm hitting balls. I have the fade still, but it's just fading right to the middle of the fairway because I'm getting more coil, in my spring. I'm got this. It's like popping through the ball a lot faster. So. I'm excited to play this course because I see that it's long. It looks like we're playing from 6,500s from the whites. I'm looking at it right now.
That's if we play the whites. I don't even know if we may play.
Yeah, we may play the blues at 67. I mean, look at that first hole, 430 par 4. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a nice slap in the face. Yeah. And then it doesn't even get easier because their fives are not even easy enough to. I see one. There's one that I'm drooling over on the back nine. 13 is a 465-yard par 5, but we don't know anything about the hole. There could be water and everything else. But.
Yeah, or a couple of turns, dog legs, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, and I love it too. I like to check out the scorecard. I know that's a big thing you do. I like kind of following along. I saw some of the pictures from you playing because you always take over the Snapchat account when we get out there, and those are always fun stories. I especially love my favorite part of your Snapchat stories are the
drive-in.
Yeah, where's Mike playing today? We just kind of get to guess the first couple of videos.
Right. So that's kind of my new thing. And then I'm usually running on a Amazon station. Actually, it's Guns N' Roses station is what I've been listening to lately. I switch every other week. Yeah. It happens to be there. That was the song but pulled in today. So it kind of amps me up, I always pull up to a bag drop and all the guys are like, wow, this guy's all fired up. But that's just me. We'll do it tomorrow.
Well, check it out. If you're not following along, follow Golficity. It's just at Golficity on Snapchat. So that's always kind of like the fun off the cuff stuff. And we'll be on posting a lot of some stuff tomorrow. I think they have like a social media like policy. I don't know how much we can have the phones out tomorrow at this club, but we'll try to put some stuff on Instagram. It's actually really cool. We're playing as guests of Sal Syed, who's the founder of Arcos Golf. We had him on the show. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that episode, go back to episode 173 because Sal's he's a cool guy. He's really loves the game. He plays the game, and it's really kind of a cool story about how he got started with Arcos and founding a company that's like kind of changing everything when it comes to personal statistics. So I'm looking forward to get out there and actually play around with him. We've never actually got a chance to meet face to face. We've talked to Sal so many times, but we haven't met him face to face. Well, I haven't. You met him in the city that one time, but I'm looking forward to getting out there and playing with him. And, that should be fun. And we're going to try to vlog it. So we're going to try to get another episode up for you guys on YouTube, youtube.com/Golficity. So I'm looking forward to that, Mike.
Yeah. Can't wait.
One other thing I wanted to highlight as well. I love every time when I see new people in the Facebook group, which again, this may be your first time you're listening to this podcast. And if you are, this little side note, we put together a Facebook group because we were trying to find a way. We were getting a lot of people emailing us, and then we would try to answer questions. And it was just still too much of like the one-on-one conversation. We wanted to find a way to get everybody involved together who listens to the show. So we started this Facebook group, and it's kind of just taken off. I think it's over 600 members right now. And it's free. You just go on Facebook, you just search the Golf Podcast. You'll see us pop up. Just join. But I always love hearing of people who maybe just discovered the show or just new to the game. And then we hear how a lot of guys are going back and listening to old episodes. I'm almost fearful, Mike. Have you ever gone back and listened to some of our old episodes? I kind of wonder, and some of the stuff is 4 years ago, how much things have changed.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to do that. I haven't, muscled up enough strength to go back and listen to that right now because I'm nervous about how we sounded. I don't even know what the topics of those episodes are.
Yeah.
But maybe one day.
I scroll through it and I'm just like, it's all great stuff, but it's so different. It's so much, it feels like it's so long ago, but it's all great stuff. And we keep it all there for people who do discover the show and want to go back. And I like it too, because sometimes we'll get people in the group who'll be like, hey, you guys should do a show on this. And if we've already done it, I can just shoot it right over to them. I'm like, oh yeah, we did. Check out episode, 8, where we talked about top 5 problems of a mental golf game,
Right.
And it's all there. Now I know that, as I say this often, iTunes and some of the other aggregators out there don't show all of our episodes. They just show, I think, the last 50. But every single episode you can still get. They're all kind of archived. It's all free. Just go to golficity.com, click podcast at the top navigation, and you're going to see we got a whole list of them there. But anyway, one that I wanted to highlight, I like this one. It just kind of came through earlier in the week. One of our listeners, Zachary Golovin, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. He said he's brand new to golf, just started 3 months ago. And I remember when he first joined the group, because he had posted that. He said, guys, I just joined and I'm just as fresh starting off. But so now he's about 3 months into the game, and he said he wanted to thank us for the podcast, which we appreciate. Being a sales consultant, he's always on the road, so he's got a lot to listen to. So he's going back and listening through, episode by episode. He's up to, I think, episode 21. He highlighted some of his favorites were 15 and 16, where we talked about kind of the mental game and we talked about the pre-shot routine. But what I like to see is that he's saying it's definitely helping. And I always like to highlight you guys' achievements too. So try to put those out there and let us know when you have those little personal achievements so we can talk about them here. But what Zachary says, he said he played his first 9 yesterday, since he started listening to the show, and he shaved 10 strokes off his game. And if it wasn't for his blow up hole in the 9th hole, he would have shot a 41, which is
wow.
Seriously solid. I'm happy shooting a 41 on 9.
Absolutely.
So that's really great. Appreciate the feedback. Keep it coming. And if you've got your own personal experience, make sure to post it here. And Mike, just shifting gears, just talk about my own game. I've been slowly working my way back into playing, trying to play once a week again since the baby's getting a little older. So
where is your game at right now?
It's pretty, fingers crossed, it's pretty good. The only thing that's not good at all in my game right now is my putting, which is a shame because it always was. But look, I know, like short term versus long term, right? You got to kind of commit to it. When you and I went to that 18 birdies event and we got that little putting lesson, remember that? We had
that's helped my putting tremendously, by the way.
Okay, that helped mine too, but I'm still getting used to the new stroke.
Okay.
So I'm noticing the biggest issue that I'm having is speed, because what he was teaching me to do was keep my lower body still. And I have a tendency to move and shift my lower body, which I know is wrong, but it's kind of like helped the ball along, so to speak. So by keeping it still, I noticed that I'm kind of like under, not giving it enough speed often. So anyway, long story short, I played last weekend, slowly working my way back in. I'm playing pretty much, I'm almost up to once a week playing again. And anyway, I shot an 88. but putting was ice cold. And anybody who follows me on 18 birdies would see I posted the round and I noted that the first 15 holes, I mean, I was hitting the ball well. That's what really felt good. But ice cold, lots. I mean, in just those 15 holes, I think I had like 5 or 6 3 putts. So I left a lot on the table, but the good news is it started to get better towards the end. Holes, 16, 17, and 18, I had, I think, two 1 putts and a 2 putt. So I was starting to feel a rhythm. It just takes time. And this is what I tell everybody, it happens to all of us. If you do something or introduce something new into your game, just kind of expect it. It's going to take time, live with it. And it's going to take a longer amount of time depending on how much time you have to dedicate towards practicing it. I said this on the last episode. I got to be realistic with myself right now. And my realistic self says, you're not able to, with my schedule, get out there and practice 2-3 times a week. I'm just not able to. So if I was able to get out there on even the putting surface, practice 2-3 times a week, I'd probably get through this a little bit quicker. But because of the fact that life, my schedule right now, I've got a 7-week-old at home. I'm not able to, but I'll get there. So I just get there a little slower. You got to have patience with yourself in this game. Otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. But Frank, she's 7 weeks. I mean, come on, let's move on.
Get her out there, right? Put a club in her hand.
No, I'm talking about you. She's raised already. She's an adult. Yeah. Let's go. It's time to move on. No, but you're absolutely right. I really wish I could practice more. I mean, I'm playing a lot, so I'm very happy that I'm able to play a lot.
Yeah.
But I actually want to be able to practice more rather than go out and play a full 18. There's a lot of things I want to work on, and I'd rather shift my focus right now. Maybe I'll take like the last part of August off and just like focus on that for hopefully I can come back in the fall and, put something together before I, put the clubs away.
I feel like you get like guys like us in the Northeast, we start to get that like August panic where it's like play as much as you can because,
I know,
all of a sudden before we know it, the course is going to be closed again, but whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, we are putting a simulator in your garage at some point.
Oh, you know it. We got to keep swinging throughout the winter. Oh, by the way, speaking of practicing, one thing I've been loving, you've just been kind of like sharing with me on your personal account, but I've been watching you taking your 4-year-old daughter out and doing some seriously intense practicing. She's got the alignment sticks. You got her on the range. I love it.
Yeah, I told you about that before. Just teaching her to keep the tip of her toes on the stick. That wasn't even. It was kind of alignment was really the second reason for me using the sticks on the putting green. But I just wanted her to keep her feet because if you take that stick away, these kids, their feet, it's a mess. And they're aiming like not even at the hole. So I was just focusing on put the ball somewhere near the hole. I kept telling her, don't even try to get it in. So, yeah, we're doing some like drill sergeant type stuff right now at 4 years old.
But the good news is it looks like she's having fun. And it really, if you have no other goal, we talked, I don't remember what episode this was, but we talked about to one of our guests was really specialized in training kids who are younger. And he said, like, if you get anything right now, the main focus should just be getting them interested in it. If you get that interest, then, it can build upon it for a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, this is the starting for it, and then I'm going to start the first tee camp, at some point next year, and then I heard they use like tennis balls just to get the backswing. It'll be fun. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, man.
Okay, Mike, let's do a word from our sponsor, and then I want to jump into these 3 tips that we have to really hone in on certain areas of your short game where you can really shave some quick strokes if you can really get these areas of your game locked in. So we're going to check that out. Let's do a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, you may know the USGA mostly for their 14 annual championships and competitions. Their championships are widely looked upon as the ultimate tests in golf, but there's a lot about the USGA you may not know.
Yeah, the USGA has scientists who are constantly focusing on the important health of the game solutions, including helping golf facilities reduce their reliance on water. Their innovation team has just come up with a resource management app that helps course superintendents know how to better allocate their resources and help ensure a better experience for all golfers. And the USGA's handicap system helps level the playing field and makes the game more social.
Right, Mike. And along with the USGA in Scotland, they're modernizing the game's rules. They're even asking golfers everywhere for feedback on those rules, and you're invited to share that with them anytime online. There's a lot to love about golf, and the greatness of the game brings out the best in all of us. Discover more at usga.org. So after my round the other day, I was jumping into my Arccos dashboard, And I want to take a quick look and just kind of see like, all right, what am I doing where am I losing some strokes? Like, what am I doing wrong that I can kind of like start to work right off the bat at getting some strokes back? And one thing I noticed was that it's cool. Like in the dashboard, it kind of overlays your shots on each hole on the little map. And I just realized, and I quickly just, without diving too deep, just quickly flip through like 1, 2, 3, all the different holes. And I'm noticing how many of my strokes are taken within about 100 yards of the green.
Sure.
And it's pretty amazing if you really look at your game that way. And then I start to realize, well, if I can just improve there, like I feel like, I mean, rough numbers, 65, % of my shots are taken from that like 100 yards and in. So if I can work there, like talk about like this 80-20 rule or like looking for low hanging fruit in your game or areas where you can improve, that's a big part of it. So I think this episode is going to kind of tie really well into that because we want to talk about very specific practice techniques, mindsets, drills, specifically focusing around chipping, pitching, and sand practice. Now, obviously, within that 100 yards and in also falls within the realm of putting. And as I said before, Mike, that's such a big area for me for improvement because it's kind of maddening to me. I'm just looking at all these bogeys on this card, and then I'm looking at the 3 putts that went along with it, which is a shame. It just kind of, I may have to get out of this. It's
your greens running right now or what? Is it that? You blowing it by?
No, they weren't running super, super fast. It was just more so, again, it was just that kind of that speed. It was not something the same every time. It wasn't short every time or long every time. It was just a little bit of both. Like when we played, our tournament round for the Golficity Virtual Open. Yeah. Everything was short because I just couldn't quite get used to that, the greens being as slow as they are. It's actually funny. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember the name. I apologize for that. But somebody in the podcast group was mentioning and lamenting on the same thing this week, is saying how he played greens that were so slow. All 18 holes just couldn't get it in his head to hit it hard enough. And that's exactly what we had. But regardless, leaving putting aside from it, this is an area game, I've harped on it before, that so many golfers don't spend enough time working on because let's face it, let's be honest. Not a lot of people like to go to a driving range, buy a bucket of balls and pull out, a gap wedge. You just know it. Right. It's just like you want to just hit that big driver and try to hit that net in the back of the range, right?
Right.
But again, driver, you hit it maybe 15 times max. I mean, maybe more conservatively 12, 13 times around. Whereas these 100 yards and in, I mean, that's where the game is won. Way back we had on the show, again, tonight my mind is in a different place. I'm not remembering everything, but we had, an interview, I'm trying to remember who it was, who was trying to go from never playing golf to playing on the PGA Tour. But what I found was interesting was when he started the game, he started, instead of just picking up a driver like so many of us do, he started by picking up a putter and just worked on putting.
The Dan plan.
That's it.
Yes.
I got to check in and see where he's at. I haven't checked in on that in a while.
I don't know. Just to correct you, I don't know if he's on the PGA Tour. He wanted to master it, right? He wanted to try to put 10,000 hours in. Was that guy?
He was putting 10,000 hours in. I thought he wanted to get on tour.
He didn't get on the tour yet. I don't know if he's there yet, but you're right. We should check in on him.
We got to check. Maybe he's on the web.com. Maybe he's made it that far. But he was putting 10,000 hours of practice in.
At Quail Hollow or what?
If he's in the field at Quail Hollow, then we know you did something right.
Absolutely.
But I do remember one thing that stood out. What he said is that he started the game by just with a putter, just trying to, as much as he could, learn putting. Then he moved a little bit off the green. Then he worked on chipping. Then he worked on pitching. And then he moved his way away from the green because he analyzed it ahead of time. He said that's where the scoring happens. So that's a big thing to consider. Now, as far as practice goes, the good news is 3 key shots: chipping, pitching, sand practice. They all can be lumped into, because I know everyone, just like I feel it. I'm the same way. Everyone's pressed for time. The good news is if you got that focused, concentrated, smart practice plan, you can lump these 3 shots into one session. And just go out there with that idea. Say, this is going to be my short game practice session, and just work on it. Say, chipping, pitch shots and sand shots. And even if you got to limit yourself physically by only bringing those clubs to the practice facility, then just do that. Some of the stuff can be practiced at home, but just do that, because that is one way that can really help you get there.
I have a bone to pick with that real quick. I mean, I find myself, in today's round, I found myself maybe 6 or 7 times. I've been crushing my drives off the tee, and I've had a lot of 100 and less in on my approach shots today. So I'm faced with the 95, 92, 88, 102, 105 all day long.
Yeah.
And when I went to the range with my daughter, we just talked about last weekend, I hit my gap wedge first 10 shots with the bucket of balls. And I always hit it to the 105-yard green that's right in front of me. Mm-hmm. Frank, I hit the first 5 in a row right next to the pin. I was looking around to see if people were watching me because I was like lasered in. And I'm like, this is my shot. I don't need to practice this. But then fast forward today on a grass real golf course, I chunked 2. I think I only had at those 6 or 7. I might have had 2 greens hit.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is, if you're going to practice this, I think you 100% need to practice it on actual grass.
If you can, absolutely. Because that's
even if you can't, go to the park on like a baseball field in town, because
solid point.
Yeah.
Because I saw that too. I saw somebody posted in the Facebook group said, "This is my practice. This is my range for the week," and he was practicing. It had a picture of himself at the whatever it was, like a baseball field or something, and just hitting around. So yeah, it's a big thing, because I think in a way, sometimes those mats at the driving range can give you a false sense of confidence, because not only with the bounce wise, you're not going to cut into them, but the other thing is that they're always completely level. Where how often do you really run into on the golf course a shot where the lie is completely flat and level? You know, at least where we live, it just doesn't happen. I feel like I'm either going to hit, it's downhill, it's a right side lie, a left side lie, uphill. There's a lot of factors that come into play. That was, I just looked through the podcast group. That was Daniel, Cowell. He said, this is his practice facility. He had it was like a baseball field about a block and a half from his house.
Yeah, there you go.
7-iron. So look, you find the time, you could do it. And he's hitting out of, real grass there. But look, it's just important to get this practice in, and then understand, we've talked about before, transitioning it, as you said, to the course. Now here, I'm not going to get into too much specifics of mechanics, because I know that also sometimes doesn't translate well, without visually seeing it. But I want to give you guys some ideas and some things to look at for your chipping practice. And a good thing to do here, this is, we talk about 30 minutes, just split it up, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes for each one of these things. So 10 minutes for chipping, 10 minutes for pitch shots, 10 minutes for the sand. You do that every once in a while, you're going to gain a lot of confidence and skills in this area of your game. But with the chipping practice, one of the big things and one of the key points here is try to vary the lies. Try to find different lengths of grass. You don't want just always good, tight lies. You also want to look for some bad lies and things like that. I notice when I have trouble with my chipping, it's usually with something a little more tricky, like a downhill lie in the rough or something like that, where you can just sometimes just cut under it or whatever. Right. But yet so many of us, our chipping practice it begins and ends with 5 minutes before we tee off, we throw a bunch of balls on the fringe of the putting green and just chip them. And it's nice and tight lie. It's flat. It's easy. I think the better bet, throw a couple in the rough if you can. Try some thicker lies. Try some things like that. As you are able to hit different lies, you're going to develop a lot more confidence, and you're going to be able to say, okay, I know how to handle this. When you actually face it on the course, you're going to say, I've seen this before in a practice session, because there are different nuances to hitting a shot, obviously out of the rough versus a tight lie. So if you try to hit the same shot you were practicing out of a tight lie out of the rough, you're in trouble. So as you're doing that, hitting those chip shots, pay attention to the fact that on the course, you're going to have to putt that ball out. So you should be, leaving the ball in as good a position as possible. That's another thing to focus on during your chipping session. Try to focus on where you're leaving the ball, not just always just the stroke. Try to focus on, we talk about on the range, right? Having targets. Have targets that you're going after in your chipping practice too. Practice leaving that ball below the hole if you can, because we talk about how that's going to be an easier putt if it's an uphill putt. So if you just add those little factors into your chipping practice, dedicating the time to it and not neglecting it. 10 minutes is all it really takes every once in a while. Varying your lies and having those targets, you're going to start to see improvement. I did this 2 or 3 seasons ago. I spent a lot of time on my chipping practice, and I had more chip-ins that season than ever before. And even to date, it's kind of gotten away from me because I haven't had as much time to spend on it.
Well, listen, it's a smart play because most amateurs, when they're approaching the green, miss the green and you're right off the green. So your next shot just has to be chipped up on the green and very close so you can make a very easy one putt, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the plan. So I took that quick short game lesson at Baltusrol. It was an hour long. Frank, I changed my whole golf game because I learned how to chip the right way. I learned how I was breaking my wrist. I learned that the ball was in the wrong position, should be in the front foot, and how to sweep like the carpet, so to speak, when you're on a tight lie. All these great things I learned, and to this day, since I've taken that little lesson, it's been lights out for me. I mean, chipping is the strongest part of my game now because of that. And then if you bring it back a little bit to pitching, it's a little different story, but. That's my next thing I'm working on.
But that's the key. And as long as you keep it with the practice, because I find that touch and the short game is the first thing that goes when you're not out there playing enough. But so you get that dedicated time, and every once in a while give yourself a refresher. But yeah, moving on to pitch shots. Here again, dedicating the time is key. But one of the biggest things you can do to help your pitch game is to try to focus on distance control above all else. Cause it's a lot like long putts. You and I did a whole episode on long putts and lag putts. And we said the most important thing was getting the speed right to get it near the hole. All right. Then there's the read and stuff like that. But if you can get that speed right and get it near, you're going to be able to, finish it up with a 2-putt and get out of there. Mm-hmm. Similar type of thing. We're talking about pitch shots. We want to get ourselves in position to 1-putt and get out of there. So a great thing to do, and this is a great drill that anyone can do when you get out there. It's the ladder drill. It's just like the ladder drill that we do on the putting surface, where we're slowly working our way, so to speak, in different distances. But here we're going to do it a little bit different. What you want to do, very simple, drop a couple golf balls 20 to 30 yards from the practice green, pick out a hole that's going to be your target, and just try to pitch that ball just for the first shot, just onto the green, but short of the hole. Then each subsequent shot, you want to pitch that ball a little bit further than the previous shot, but still short of the hole. So you're kind of laddering up, trying to get a little bit closer, a little bit closer, and see, and again, I love this because this is one of those drills that can help simulate pressure, because you can try to start to beat your own record, so to speak. See how many successful shots you can make where each one, gets a little bit further than the previous shot, but gets closer to the hole. And what that drill does is it really teaches your hands and arms how to control that distance of your pitch shots. So you're going to learn, how trajectory, spin, ball flight in the air, you're going to start to get that feel for that distance. And then when you get out on the course, you're going to feel a lot more confidence dialing in those distances. So then if you have the means to do it at a different practice facility where you have a little more room, you can come out further than 20 to 30 yards, back it up 50, 60 yards, and just work on that same drill. So you're getting a very specific target. It's that each time just getting a little closer to the hole without overshooting the hole. And see how many you can do in a row. And then once you overshoot the hole, come back and start over. I think it's a fun drill. It's a little fun way to put a little fun into your practice, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a fun, drill to use. I mean, the one thing I have, the issue I have with the pitch is that when I use the same club, I use my 56-degree wedge if I was 110 yards out, and I use it if I was 40 yards out.
Yeah.
So I have to adjust the backswing, whether it's a 3 o'clock backswing, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, however I bring it back. I kind of know in my head where the 30-yard backswing is, 45 yard. I mean, do you think this way too? With a shortened backswing?
Sort of. For really short shots, I do. One thing I've been trying to do though is I've been trying to work with controlling my distances based on the speed of my turn. So I've been trying to do, let's say, like taking my 52. And instead of hitting it my normal, like 110, trying to hit it 80 yards, but not shortening up my swing at all. Instead, just dialing down the speed of my swing by the speed of my turn. So swinging 70% speed rather than 70% range of motion. Just something I've been trying. Obviously, it's going to be impossible to hit that club 50 yards with a full swing. Sure. It would be like in slow motion camera, it would look like, but there's things you can do. Side note, I'm thinking about mixing up my wedge game a little bit. I've been noticing that I have my 5-wood in my bag and I've used it maybe once this season. I'm thinking about throwing another wedge in there. I was listening to Rory today talking about how he has 4 wedges in his bag.
Jeez.
He's going to take one out, he said, because of course they're playing a 7,500 yard track at Quail Hollow. So he's going to take one out in favor of a 3-iron to get some of those longer holes, which he'll probably be going at par 5s and 2 with a 3-iron. That guy's
Jeez.
ridiculous. But it does tell you something. He plays with 4 of them in there. And I don't think you need to overthink your wedge game, but I may fill in some gaps for some of those oddball distances.
Well, you're going to notice tomorrow that I put the 2 hybrid into play, the red top.
Nice.
I don't really trust the hybrid that I trusted for all these years. I really like this one. I'm hitting it like 240, 250 when I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I put the ball over the green today on my approach shot, on my second shot on a par 5.
Wow.
I mean, it was a blast. So I'm excited to bring that in. I like that we both did a little bit of equipment changes mid-season. That's great.
But hey, that's a good. I mean, you were just saying about how long this course is, so I think that's a wise decision. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so our last tip, and I know already, I can hear some people shaking their heads when it comes to sand practice. It is the most difficult thing to practice in a lot of ways because there's a lot of facilities that don't have anywhere you can practice sand. So I know most guys are going to say, okay, well, I can, as we talked about, go to like a park and practice, some of my short game, or I can go to the driving range. I get it. It is difficult. Maybe if you live near a beach, you can try it there, but you could argue that the beach sand is going to be a lot different. But if you can look around and find a facility that has a bunker, where you can practice, get there, use it, practice it, because otherwise it won't, and that way it won't feel so unfamiliar to you when you get out there and play your round. Because don't forget, with golf, as with, I guess, anything, the confidence comes from that familiarity, from doing it. Where we talk about how important it is to have confidence in your game. Well, where do we lose it? It's being faced by something that's an unknown. So if you don't practice your sand game, and you may be in a normal round, you end up in the bunker 2-3 times, extrapolate that out. If you're playing once a week, that's maybe you're taking like 10 sand shots a month. You can't expect to get very good at it doing that, right?
Right.
So if you can find a practice facility, practice it. That being said, one thing that I think can really help, and one little drill you can do, is start off by heading into the bunker and just take some swings with no golf ball. And the reason I say that is you want to just work on splashing some of that sand up and out of the bunker. Now we're talking about green side bunkers. I'm not talking about fairway bunkers. That's a whole different animal. We're talking about that short game there. But the reason for doing this is when you hit a good green side bunker shot, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, you guys can go back and check out. You don't actually want to make contact with the ball. You want to hit that sand and have the sand propel and pop the ball out. And you'll see this. Watch the PGA Tour. Any given weekend, they're always going to show 1 or 2 of those very slow motion cut shots between going to commercial, where they're going to show them guys hitting out of the sand because it makes for a really cool visual effect. But what you'll see is they hit behind the ball, and that sand pushes that ball up and out. And the way those guys control their speed, which is the proper way to do it, or I should say control their distance, is by how much sand you take. Take a little sand, contacts a little bit more of the ball. It's going to go further, more sand, not as far. So if you can get comfortable with that, hitting sand first and throwing that sand, I think the practice, mindset is throw the sand up there onto the green. And then the cool thing with that too is when you see that pattern of the splash, it should be directly in the direction of the hole. If you see that land on the green with that nice directional thing, you've done it right. But once you've done that, then go ahead, throw some golf balls down, and then practice that same motion, but this time just concentrate on hitting that sand, letting that toss the ball up and out. So after you do that, you put some golf balls down, hit some shots. Keep in mind that technique is splashing the sand out from under the ball. You should see some good results doing that. And the real key is just putting the time and practice in, like I said. So these types of shots, so you can build that confidence back. You can get back off the beach. That's what it really comes down to, Mike.
Yeah, man, when it comes to green side bunkers, you give me that nice, fluffy, white country club sand, and let me tell you, I'm one putting that ball every single time after that.
Yep.
But you give me the hard, rainy sand, and I suggest you don't stand anywhere near the green. I mean, it's a complete different thing. 'Cause for me, it depends on the sand. If it's good quality sand, I'm lights out from the green side bunkers.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like when we played over at TPC River Highlands, that sand was like gorgeous. I had one of my best sand shots ever on, I think it was 16. And because you just feel so confident, if you splash that sand, it's going to travel right. But you're so right. Like when you had that hard pan, dried out sand, and it just feels like you just get that flyer or that rocket out of there. It's tough. It's even tougher when, at least if you have that sand and it's consistent throughout the round, you can kind of adapt. But I find the hardest thing is when you get those golf courses where some of the greenside bunkers are done right and some of them aren't. So you get you don't know what you're going to get and you try to adapt. That's always tough. We were talking about that in my last round when we were out there, but, no, I totally agree. But regardless, you get out there, you practice it, you're going to get that more confidence. And if you practice, if the home run is if the golf, club where you're playing or you normally play, if they also have their own facility with a trap that's a lot like the traps you're going to face, then you could practice, exactly what you're going to be facing. That's the home run.
Right.
But there's going to be give and take to any lie. And you could argue the same thing with grass, bent grass.
That's true.
Other grass. So a lot of things to consider. But anyway, just to quickly recap, just get out there. Start with the baseline, commit yourself to putting this type of practice because trust me, you will save strokes because it's a big area of the game where those strokes happen. But 30 minutes, 10, 10, and 10 for chipping, sand work, pitch shots, and then just focus on those areas we talked about. You're going to see improvement. And when you do, let us know how it goes. Post in the Facebook group because we'd love to hear it. All right, Mike, anything else before we wrap it up and start getting ready for our round tomorrow?
No, man, just get plenty of rest because I got a feeling these guys are going to want to play for money or something or just some kind of fun betting game. And I think it's going to be the Golficity versus Arcos tomorrow.
I love that.
So bring your A game. I'll definitely try to bring mine.
I'll work on it. I'll do the best I can.
Awesome.
All right. Before we wrap it up, once again, I want to thank our sponsor, the USGA. Okay. So golf and life, how do you fit one into the other? Well, it's pretty easy. Play 9. 9-hole golf is time friendly and unwind friendly. It's after work friendly and there's still time to pick up the kids friendly. You can even post your 9-hole score and it counts every time. There's a lot to love about golf. And when there's less time, the USGA says play 9. Learn more about your options in your area by going to usga.org/play9 today. How's your short game? Okay, Mike. Looking forward to it. Let's get out there. And then I think the next week or two, we've got some more great instruction stuff coming. I know we're asking you guys feedback in the Facebook group. We posted a poll of what you want to hear more of on the show. A lot of guys talked about more interviews, a little bit more PGA Tour talk. We will work on that. We're going to get that coming. We're working on lining up some interviews for going towards the end of the season. So stay tuned to that. As always, check us out everywhere on social at Golficity, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're there. And check us out on the web at golficity.com. All right. We'll see you there.